There you go.
And then I'm supposed to say, okay.
No, you're not. Hi, hello, Ira. Lovely to have you on the Future of Foods podcast. You are. This is the second time I've spoken to you on the podcast. The first time was a couple of years ago, I suppose, and a lot has happened since then. I've met you a number of times in the interim, and a lot has happened with Respect Farms and with the industry and various things. And I know that there's a big opening in a couple of weeks of the Respect Farms too. So, I mean, it's not an opening to the public, obviously. It's just a kind of opening as a working concern. Is that right? What's actually happening in a couple of weeks?
Well, we call it an inauguration. We will have, because in November, of course, we placed all kind of stuff at the farm in Schipluiden in Zuid-Holland. And for those that don't know it, that's in the Netherlands. And but then you have to put it together and you have to make it work. And so we were proud that we put it there, but we announced to everyone we will have an official opening, because I think that people, we want to know, does it work? Can we actually grow cells on that farm? Does it go well? Is it hard? Did we make the right design? Is the farmer happy? How is the farming community engaging with us? So we always promised that we would have an opening shortly after, but then of course, we have to listen to the farmer, and he had to mow his land. So it wasn't very convenient for him to do it earlier. So now we're doing it on the 5th of June, and we will have some delegates from the province of South Holland who are very proud to have us, because they are very innovative and also want to make sure that in their province, agriculture remains something that is thriving. So we will have a ribbon cutting moment at the farm with some, let's say, important people, but especially also with people who have played a role in it, who we will thank, there are some people that we will say homage from because they're not with us anymore. It's also for the first time, to introduce the actual farmer, because everyone wanted to know more about this farmer working with us. But he says, hey, I'm a farmer. I know everything about my dairy cows. I know everything about making cheese, but I'm not a television person. I'm not a stage person. So we really had to convince him to be on stage just one. And that is going to be during the 4th and the 5th around the opening. And that's it, because he's not our salesperson. He's not going to pitch for Respect Farms. But on the other hand, I do understand everyone wanting to meet this guy and wanting to understand why he wants to work with us.
Well, who knows? He might enjoy it so much. He might want more of the limelight.
I'm not sure, and I don't think we need it, because we won't only have Corné van Leeuwen there, who is the farmer, and he's a 5th generation farmer. But we will also have other farmers. And what is going to be fun for everyone coming both to the 4th and the 5th is that they are completely different, and they have completely different reasons to want to do this and reaching out to us and wanting to work with us and explain this to the public and journalists, like, hey, this is my reason for wanting to work with Respect Farms, because it's not homogeneous, like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is what everyone's going to get. No, it's tailored.
Yes. So could you just sort of explain what Respect Farms is? I mean, yes, I know a little bit, but yes, it's quite a unique idea, right, in the world of cellular agriculture. So what is it, just as a sort of summary and an outline for people?
I do agree that we're probably unique, but I disagree that the idea is unique, because as you might know, this idea is not something that came from us a couple of years ago. It was something actually that was researched in 2008 that was talked about already around 2000, and what was the original idea from my father into, I think in 1980 already, when he started working on cultivated meat. And for him, and now for us as Respect Farms, cultivated meat can very well be an additional business model for farmers. And that narrative, and also even the research that had been done in that, completely got lost in a, let's say, US narrative of making it successful by putting the price down, by making it very big. And I always found that curious, like, why wouldn't you work with the primary food producers of today? Because if we want to be impactful and fast, the best way to go forward is to use the existing value chain. Whereas if you want to demolish that, you will have backlash, you will have problems, you will have concerns. You can even wonder if is that so ethical? And other people will say, yes, that's completely ethical, but that's not the point. You want to be impactful as soon as possible. And if you then look into what food production nowadays is, it's simply the biggest and largest industry in the world. That's how we make food. Who is making our food? It's farmers. It's all kinds of farmers all over the world. And it's not that they're all the same. But it's very likely that when they innovate, so let's say an African country, if they want to innovate on agriculture, they usually go somewhere to Wageningen, to the Netherlands, because one of our biggest export products in the Netherlands is agtech. So we sell not just meat or tulips or animals. No, we sell farm equipment. We sell milking robots. That's what we do. And we do that on a daily basis. So we thought it would be an amazing idea to create a cultivated meat farm and have that on the portfolio of the Netherlands as one of the things that could really turn around innovation in countries that want to innovate their agriculture. So another misconception about cultivated meat, especially when we talk about doing cultivated meat on a farm, that people say, oh, but cultivated meat is sort of a Western, European, maybe European, US hobby for the wealthy, but this will never trickle down to the global South. Whereas the global South usually has a lot of solar energy, and as long as you have some energy, and at least it is green energy, you will be able to probably make cultivated meat in all kinds of places in the world, and also from all kinds of species. And probably also making sure that you do something that is locally relevant. So high-end protein brought to places where doing that with animals is either cruel or impossible or very energy consuming. So why not export and skip the animal in certain places and doing it by bioreactors that are equipped and designed to do that work in a simple, automated, and sometimes even robotized way.
Okay, so the farm itself is intended to kind of act as a sort of standard, maybe for other countries to use. So what is actually going to happen on the farm? What is going to be the kind of setup of the farm?
What we've placed on the farm is a unit that contains a bioreactor, that contains materials that you need to grow cells. And right now it's in a first phase, because we will have another 4 years from now on to create an optimum validated situation that we could say to the farmer, hey, here's the key, and now you can do it, and you will also be able to make some money off this. Because if this is not going to be a business model that will make this farmer some money, it's not going to be a good idea. So it may be possible, it may be a good idea from a marketing perspective, but if this farmer, René van Leeuwen, doesn't see it as a future business model that will diversify his farm in such a way that it is future-proof and will make his sixth generation farm possible, then he's just simply not going to do it. So our homework is making sure that within the, let's say, scale we want to work with, things are simple enough, validated enough, and done in such a way that the farmer can make a buck out of this.
Okay. So the farmer he already has a farm that is already producing meat and crops. And so this bioreactor is being integrated into his farm.
Yeah. This farmer has a milking robot, so he has cows, so he makes milk. From the milk, he makes cheese, and he has enough land to do away with the manure and to feed his cows, so he doesn't have to get the food from somewhere else. So there's a lot of circularity already happening on that farm. The former horse stable was converted into an event space where they have weddings, where they have meetings. You could even have a bite there, but it's not a restaurant. It's mostly run by his mom. He lives there with his wife, his 3 daughters, and also his father and mother are also having a house on the farm.
Okay.
And that's the family farm of the family van Leeuwen.
And so the idea is that they can take cells from their cows and use that to grow meat in the bioreactor.
Yeah.
So there will be people helping him obviously do that on the farm. There'll be scientists and engineers. So he will be in charge of the bioreactor.
Yes.
Okay.
So right now we are there to validate that our design and what we want to leave behind when we would leave is optimized for him to use. And right now that's not the case. But we do think that in 4 or 5 years from now, that will be the case. And what most people sometimes seem to forget is that cells grow 24/7 for a couple of weeks, or even sometimes, depending on what tech you use, a couple of months in a continuous system. And you don't have to stand around the whole time, but you also, at the same time, need to be around for when something happens. Well, that's the fun part of farmers. They're around. They're 24/7 there, and they're used to 24/7 work. Whereas, let's say, factories, you will have to work with people that go there from 9 to 4, and then from 3 to 8, and then from 8 till the next morning. So you will have 3 tiers of people coming in and out. Whereas on a farm, you will have someone that's there 24/7. If he gets a notification from bioreactor, let's say 2, that something's not going well, he's there. But he doesn't have to stand around there all time. So I've been even asked by farmers like, oh, so you want to work with farmers because we are cheaper labor than the people in factories? And I was sort of like, well, no, but you are there. And so that was almost sort of like, no, it's not cheap labor, but it is fitting labor. And we also had farmers that said to us, like, it was actually a UK farmer that said, oh, I'd love to work with bioreactors. At least those won't break out of the barn and have to be taken out of the road in the middle of the night. Of course, she's not a dairy farmer, but she's a sheep farmer. And if you know anything about sheep farming, sheep tend to walk away and be on the road in the middle of the night. And for her, it was really like, oh, it's so convenient that I won't have to go after these bioreactors. They're just there, and they will give me a notification when there's something wrong, and I will go there.
It's one problem that isn't going to be associated with bioreactors. Yes, I can see that. Yeah. So since I interviewed you last time, you were already a bit of a figurehead, I suppose, for the industry, especially in the Netherlands, but probably more so. You've traveled to Asia and as part of the kind of cellular agriculture Netherlands committee, and so you've been described almost as a bridge between science and society. I found a description like that. So what does that mean exactly? What's your role in this drive forward for cultivated meat?
I, I've wondered that quite often, Alex. So thanks for the question.
Yeah.
I still haven't really found an answer. I was never supposed to do this, as you know. I was just the daughter of a guy that couldn't stop talking about this, and I'm an only child in that sense. So I just paid attention. And I wasn't aware that I held so much of history and knowledge and possibilities and future scenarios in my head when I met people like Josh Detrick, Uma Valetti, even Lou Cooperhouse. And they come in from all kind of, so people came in from all kind of directions into this space. And my personal reason to stick around mainly is that I was so dumbfounded when I found out that my own country, that I'm very proud of, was not taking the innovation possibilities properly into account. Um, it was as if in the ministries and also in parliament there wasn't enough headspace for this innovation. And it bugged me. It really made me angry at first, worried, very worried, like, oh my God, there's so much possibility here, there's so much potential, and nobody's taking care of it. So I just went to people that I knew had worked with my dad before in the Ministry of Agriculture, and I found out that what I knew, most people don't know. And what I understand as being a possibility or not, most people don't know. So from being angry, I started being someone that wanted to just explain, sometimes even educate. So my type of lobbying that I do is make sure that if a politician or someone in parliament or someone in a ministry has to make a decision about something, they have the proper information. And I don't do that alone because it's science, it's tech, it's engineering, it's societal comprehension of this. Um, and of course, in an amazing group that we brought together also for the National Growth Fund, that is now called CAN, which is Cellular Agriculture Netherlands. It's exactly what we do. And we bring knowledge and people who are knowledgeable and research together. And then we talk about it and make sure that everyone understands.
Mm.
And what was fun is that only, I think, last week, we had our second conference science. So where all the science of our program, and it's about 95 people, come together from both precision fermentation and cultivated meat. And they talk together, they share and the first day is sort of closed off. So no one's supposed to get that information out, but they do talk together and they present to each other and they become aware of all things that they're working on. And then the second day, we even made a little bit broader. And then someone in the biotech world was invited and came there and explained something about biotech, I think something. And that person actually said, oh, I'm so amazed. Cultivated meat isn't that at all. There's so much happening. I'm so happy I came. Because if here and there, from the many startups in the world, one or two or maybe three fail and a couple of more are struggling for investment money, then everyone already thinks, it's failing, it's not there yet, it's not going to happen. Whereas I'm extremely optimistic. And I know it's a weird way of answering your question, but please bear with me. I think I stayed around because I was so worried that we didn't do enough research on this topic. We left it to startups to work from scratch with very little support. They all had to work behind closed doors of IP and investors, whereas all of what we now do is open source, it's open access, and only that way you can build the basic knowledge that you need to have this as an emerging industry at all. And I don't know, Alex, I just stuck around.
So did you feel almost a responsibility to keep your father's legacy alive?
No, I don't, because I think Mark Post did an amazing job. Josh Tetrick did an amazing job. There are so many new heroes that already kept that idea alive. For me, it's actually, it's sort of, maybe it's the same kind of relentlessness, like we can do this, so why aren't we doing this? And that I do recognize from my dad. He said, well, we can do this, we should do this. And I'm a little bit the same, like, I think we can do this, so we should do this. And that's why I'm sticking around. And the other thing that is very, I don't know, people like you, Alex, and the people I work with, and the people I meet, and the amount of extra knowledge I've received from so many people. Um, yeah,
I was just
it's
going to
amazing.
I was just going to say, Ira, that it's a nice world to be involved with, isn't it? It's kind of nice to sort of find almost. It's almost like finding your people in a way that everyone's working towards a common goal in their various ways. And I remember when I first sort of discovered this and I wanted to know more. It just seemed fascinating. And then when I started meeting people like yourself and at the conferences and various other places, everybody just had a sort of shared dream. And I have noticed recently, especially in Chicago when I was there in February, that there is a certain downward trend in positivity. Rather than saying that that it's become negative, I'd say it's a downward trend in positivity for
Yeah,
this sector. It's not the same in Europe. I find in Europe there's more positivity. In America, it's a bit sort of dampened. But I suspect that's probably got something to do with the kind of higher political situation around that. But I think kind of the Netherlands is probably the most optimistic in Europe and in this area on for cultivated meat, and probably a lot of that. Would you say some of that at least is sort of down to you and your push and your ability to sort of press this?
well, I would love to think that I contributed something, yes, but of course it's not.
Mm,
It's really this domino tiles that are all touching each other, and then the next one goes, and the next one goes. And let's not forget, in the US, you are only successful when you create that first factory and make millions for your investors. What we are doing with the farm, it's public money, it's taxpayers' money that we get to invest in this. And believe me, it's horrible money. Subsidy money is tiring. It's also sort of time-wise very expensive. It's slow, but it's there. And you can do your homework in the best possible way. And we have time now to really make this happen. And there's no one pushing me to do something that I can't achieve. And that
mm,
is trying to make something in tens of thousands of liters bioreactors that just simply don't exist.
mm,
So if that is what is is success, then I do understand that in the US that is dampened. Whereas here, I think in the EU, but maybe also because we started talking about farmers more here than in the US at all. Um, yeah, it's more diverse.
mm,
And besides that, by the way, also let's not forget fish and cell cultivated fish possibilities. There's so much possible.
mm,
And maybe because I'm an old lady and I've been around for more than 40 years, the fact that right now it's dampened doesn't worry me at all. I know the facts, and the facts simply are that in Denmark, that in the Netherlands, that in Germany, that even in France, Italy, Singapore, Korea, China, Australia, uh, and the US, Tufts, Davis, there are more scientists working on exactly what I'm talking about, cultivated meat, than ever before. It was just a handful and a few startups that were doing the work. And right now it's in universities, it's proper research, and that is open source, and we can all work together and build together.
And so there's less hype, but there's more attention, perhaps.
Well, there's more focus than ever before, especially from academia. And mind you, why I'm so super enthusiastic about that, I remember my father being turned away by high-end scientists from the medical field because the guy wanted to have them make steaks, which they found ridiculous. So you have no idea how much has changed. Right now, it's considered high-end research, necessary research. And yes, maybe those big factories aren't there, but one of the things that kept me going is simply the taste of all the products that I've been fortunate to taste, Alex.
Mm.
What have you been able to taste in cultivated meat so far?
Me, I've had fish, chicken, and caviar.
Caviar.
Yes. Yeah, so far, because it's all it's quite difficult for companies I've found recently to actually get their products into the UK if they're not a UK company. It's they struggle. I know that sort of Bene Meat is sort of trying to get some tasting for their new product, but they're but I probably shouldn't say that on here. I'll have to edit that out.
No, don't. Please don't edit that out because it's right now we have exciting times because there's a Biotech Act 1 and there's a Biotech Act 2. And even though I love the fact that there's so much attention for biotech at all, what worries me is that for novel food, they've excluded the possibility of regulatory sandboxes and novel food sandboxing. Whereas that is exactly what is necessary to come to something that you actually can bring to the market and that you can put into a dossier that EFSA can approve or FSA can approve. So that is one of the things that I really would like to see happen.
Well, that is going to be a discussion at the conference in November, whether we need more sandboxes. I mean, clearly we do. I mean,
Yeah, well, it's nice if we have something to talk about in November, but right now, these things are being voted on in the European Parliament. So I think what is mainly important is that anyone in any country in the EU right now listening to your amazing podcast should understand that they have to go to their local politicians and tell them, hey, can you please make sure that that is not voted in, but actually voted out.
So what is the details of this, if you can explain? So what needs to be voted out? What needs to be voted in?
So they want to make sure that regulatory sandboxes for biotech at large is possible, but they have now made an exception for novel foods. They don't want sandboxing or regulatory sandboxing for novel food products.
And why do you think that is? That seems a little unusual. Why have they made that exception?
I think they've made that exception because they think that a lot of the member states are against those novel foods and they want to push this Biotech Act through in an easy way. So then you take out what could be controversial.
Right.
Whereas if member state people would say, hey, we don't find this controversial, we're not against this, then
Okay.
why would they take it out?
So pure politics.
Yep.
Really. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you were talking about open source. How so? Do you believe that kind of companies should share their research in a sort of common sort of so open source way in order to sort of further?
In the,
the ecosystem?
well, I'm the daughter of the guy that wrote the first ever patents, and they were extremely defensive. And what you need to understand, what is a patent, is a sort of license to go to war with someone. It's not what you actually would want. On the other hand, the reality is that if you don't have IP, you won't have investments, you won't be able to make a company out of your idea. What I mean with open access and open source is that at universities, that shouldn't be the case. In universities, it should be open source. Universities are mainly paid by taxpayers and public money. And to make sure that knowledge that is created at universities with taxpayers' money, that should be open. That should be for everyone. And then on top of that, and mind you, there is so much still to do in cultivated meat, in precision fermentation, in all of these novel food possibilities, that if the groundwork is being done at the universities, there will be so many amazing spin-outs. And they're fine for me if they have something that is very specific and they want to have and create IP, and that will make them investable. All good for me. But at universities, I think it should be open source and open access.
Okay, so I suppose at the moment when universities do research, they publish papers on the, on the sort of positive outcomes from their experiments. But there's also a lot of data which universities have from experiments that have perhaps gone wrong or that haven't led to a positive outcome that would be very important and very useful for other people to see. So you're saying that should all be made public as well. But I suppose
it usually is. Things that are being done at universities are usually public.
But it's only public if it's published in some way, right? If it's published in a journal or as part of a sort of PhD paper or something like that. But there's lots of research that never is published, that is just sort of lost.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you know that someone's doing that research and you contact that person and that person is free to tell you what they did, they are usually quite open to discuss this with you. If they're not, and scientists are not able to discuss things with you when they're working on a patent or when they are not allowed by investors to talk about those kind of things. If those barriers are not there, scientists are very willing to explain what they did wrong, what went wrong, and sometimes that's even in the papers they write.
Yes.
Because it's not altogether true that people only publish things that are successful. They just publish what the outcome of their research is, even if it's not a success.
Yes. Okay. If it's worth. Yes, I suppose if it's interesting to the world, or if it's part of their PhD, it kind of doesn't necessarily have to be a success. It's just kind of research that has been undertaken that has come to a finish. Yeah.
But that's also why I'm so super enthusiastic about what we do at Select Netherlands, is that we make sure that they all talk together and they come out of their labs. And I don't want to belittle that, because it's also, again, an amazing group of people. But sometimes they just don't know that someone else is doing the same thing or having the same struggle. And we're making them sort of get together and talk about what they're doing, talk about their struggles, talk about what help they need. And so far, and we've done this now, I think, for 3 or 4 times already, and we'll be doing this for the next 8 years. Yeah, it's this is what you want to see happen.
Yes.
And that's what we got the money for. Let's not forget, we got money to do this. And this is the task that we were given, to make sure that research it's not just money that goes into a university and then and then trickles down to somewhere, but you don't really know. No, we keep tab on what is actually happening.
Okay. And so this is Can got to public money. There was 40 million was kind of provided by the government. Obviously that didn't all come to you, but that's
No, it
for
was
cultivated meats.
we got 60 million.
60 million.
We got 60 million, and with co-financing, we were supposed to have a complete plan of 85 million. And the plan that we submitted and got that money for was going to run for 8 years. With all the co-financing that we've gotten, we managed to get our total into 110 million right now. And the beauty of it is that this huge investment that is secure for about 8 years, which has created so many possibilities to do extra research. Right now, so many extra grants are being given to the people that work in the Netherlands in 3 different universities, all working together. So it's very much what we call in the Netherlands polder. So we all work together in equal terms. It's very little hierarchy, and just create a common goal and go for it.
And I know also there are companies that are based in other countries who have been given money by Can to open up offices in the Netherlands to kind of focus their attention in the Netherlands. So it seems like a very good use of funds, but obviously I'm biased because I like this field. It just sort of seems like a really pragmatic thing to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, but let's not forget that also in Germany, a lot of things are happening. It's a big country and with a lot of different universities. It has a completely different setup, but beautiful things are also happening in Germany, in Ghent, in Belgium. There's a lot of amazing tech going on there. The people working on cultivating cells for fish and octopi and algae out of Portugal. And also in the UK, with Karma, there's a lot of government involvement, money going that direction. I think we're better off right now than we've ever been.
Yeah.
And why is that also important for the farm? We can use all of that tech because you asked me, okay, what is RespectFarms? And RespectFarms is a system integrator. So we know exactly what our customers who are farmers would need. And we can now actually shop around. We can investigate, okay, these cells or that cell type or that bioreactor. Oh, that bioreactor isn't altogether suitable right now, but what could we get out of it? And we don't only do that in the Netherlands, we do that globally because advancements on this are happening all over the place. So is it going to be a stir tank? Is it going to be a hollow fiber? Is it going to be a pack bag? And that work is our work because we have to make sure that what we deliver to farmers is trustworthy, is reliable, is transparent, and works. And I feel extremely responsible, and luckily the whole team feels extremely responsible, because if there's one thing we should not do and we cannot afford and would really be devastating, is if we would disappoint this group. Because if we as RespectFarms disappoint farmers that want to work with us, bringing something to them that doesn't work, that doesn't make them money, that has problems, then that is never going to happen.
Okay. Well, as a last question, because I want you to enjoy the sunshine on your bank holiday Monday, although it's not a bank holiday, it's a different thing. It's a holiday still, isn't it?
It's a holiday. It's a holiday.
We shouldn't be here having these great conversations. We should be out in the sunshine. So just last question. If your father was around today, what do you think he would be excited to see, and what might he be a little bit frustrated with?
He would be excited.
Let's start with excited. Let's just.
My father would be extremely excited about all the amazing products that there are out there, like the chicken satay, the hamburger, the nuggets, the bacon, the fish. Because for him that would be exciting because that is what he envisioned to be possible. And I think my father would be very frustrated about the fact that somehow the political narrative around cultivated meat is being used for politics. And that is sad. and that is frustrating because it has nothing to do with reality. I've done so much research, and farmers are not against cultivated meat. Farmers are the most innovative people in the world. So if they can still produce food, if they can still do that on their farms, they would be very willing to do just this work. So that if that would be different, I think, yeah.
Yes, I think that is the big frustration in that we in many countries around the world right now a kind of certain kind of a certain rejection of progress means that this kind of bioscience is perhaps not getting the sort of positive attention it should get.
Well, I don't think that will last. I think these things are waves. So right now, this is something that a certain politician can use for the furtherment of their political career. Kudos to them. In a democratic world, at a certain point, these people leave again, and then you have new people. I am well aware that, let's say, Big Meat already knows that they are not meat companies, but protein companies. And if they find out that with cultivated meat, they can also make money, then there won't be a lobby against it. So it's just, let's do our homework, make sure that we do it in such a way that people can make money out of it. And then I think the resentment of it will disappear because there's no reason for it. It's actually quite a tasty product with so many benefits. So why would anybody really be against it? I don't see that.
Yeah. Well, I always love your positivity, and thank you for this conversation, Ira. And on that, I'll let you get back to the sunshine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex.